Jenny Larry Johnson, and I want to thank you for joining me for this overview of my first Canvas course. It's called The Journey. Now, the journey is targeted toward adult learners over the age of 50 years old. These are retired professionals, also known as baby boomers. Now, what I've learned from research about the baby boomers, and of course, being one myself, I'm a subject matter expert. We have strong work ethics. We are self-assured and very competitive. We're goal-centric. We like points because we like to win. Now, we were raised by parents that suffered through the Great Depression, so we tend to be very conservative with our resources, including our time. We can be mentally focused, but we suffer from ADD and we feel like something's not worth our time. Remember, we conserve time. And we are disciplined and committed. Now, I had to determine as a part of doing my assessment, my pre-assessment, what baby boomers need or what the intent was behind this course and why they should care about it. Well, the main thing is that we're bored. Most of us have retired, or we're thinking about retiring. We're claiming we're real tired and whatnot. So the journey is intended to be a call to action, to get us back out there, to get something new going on in this second half of our lives, to bring excitement back. We need purpose again because our country still needs us. Now, at the same time, I knew that I had to respect the baby boomers as adult learners. That means, again, they're very, very, very conservative with their time. They like to be autonomous and self-directed. A lot of the people I've targeted toward, they're leaders already. They've retired from a position of management and authority. They like to share what they already know, so I have to give them opportunities to express themselves and share their knowledge and experience. Goal oriented, so I had to make the task very specific, and it had to be relevant and practical, or else, like I said, I wouldn't be able to engage them for long periods of time because, we're conservative with our time, right? And finally, I had to develop an approach that really treated them like grown-ups, because nothing's more insulting than to have people talk down to you or condescending, especially if you're a baby boomer that had made it that far to retirement. Now, as far as the kind of trend and the way the look and feel is, a focus on the evidence-based Edgar Dale cone of learning. And what his research proved was that we remember 10% of what we read, we remember 30% of what we hear or see, and 60% of what we do. So that's actually reflected in this course and the way it's designed. So let's talk about what we're going to do. First, the 10% reading, then the 30% seeing, and then the 60% doing. That's where we're going. Okay, now the course starts with an introduction, which is the main page. This is the flow. One thing you notice is that, the images are very purposeful. Now, this is the constant reminder, it's the Golden Gate. That's where we want to go. We want to be ready for the Golden Gate, right? So the gates are kind of like a tease to keep them engaged as they move and be able to assess their progress and whatnot. So I've got these colors. I use a lot of white space because I wanted it to be distraction free. This is probably the most text you'll see on any of the pages, aside from the syllabus. Okay, again, consistency. You'll see consistency in appearance, look, and feel, because I want them to be focused on completing the journey, not having to find the stuff they need. There are constant reminders at the end of each introductory model. Look, this is another gate. Let's go through it. And let's look at how instruction is actually delivered. So what we will do is we will go now to the syllabus. Okay, the syllabus clearly outlines the goals and objectives written from a receiver's, from a learner's point of view, which is different from the design document, which we will review later. The prerequisites were, of course, we want them to be at least 50 years old, that they're a little hurt, they're a little injured. They've had to play these games for the last 30, 40 years. So we want them to come in feeling free to open up and share. And also they must have access to the internet. Now, this is the required textbook, which is a wonderful tool here. This lady, she laid it all out for us with the roadmap. I gave them the assessments and grading, and then the course summary. This is the down, deep, and dirty to let them know where they're going. Okay, then let's go ahead and enter into the journey. Now, first we start our module, and each module, again, begins with an overview. And I wanted to make them multimedia, okay? So you got this multimedia introduction, it's consistent in presentation. Everything is going to include a gate, and again, lots of white space. Let them know right up front, this is the purpose of this module and this is what you're going to learn. So let's go and open up the 8 gates. And let me mention, module 1 is pretty much a pre-assessment. It will give the instructor a chance to kind of predetermine which students are really into it, which ones are struggling with the online web portal, which ones she feel are just really taking off, that maybe she can kind of use the lead assignments and things of that nature. So module 1 is an assessment because it's a real overview. Okay, again, back to Habermas. He says that there really are 4 parts to learning. The first part he theorized is the strategic communication. This is the sage on stage. In this case, it would be the author. She had done many years of psychoanalysis, traveled all over the world, world-renowned speaker. So she's got some pretty good stuff in this book. But Habermas also said this, I'm sorry, let me mention the rubric here. So we're asking them to do their constitutive or test what she's saying to see if what's in her book is applicable to what their experiences have been or how they think they can use, the wisdom so-called that she's sharing here. So I'm asking them to do a 500 word journal entry. Now this is going to be confidential that they would upload, and there's a place to upload it. We can see that next. Okay, and then it has to be, they would get 25 points for them doing the journal entry, and there's the clear description of what's required. I'm saving the ratings part for me to explain why I award the parts that I do. And then they want it to be reflective and contemplative. Again, this first module is the pre-assessment part. So you will see this. This is the strategic, this is the constitutive. Now we want to move on to Habermas. What he said is the normative. We want them to test their version of the truth against their peers. And this course is designed to have no more than 10 learners enrolled at any given time. So the first step is for them to put a discussion out there. This could be more public. Keep in mind, the journals are private, but the discussions are public. How do you feel? Do you see it the same way? This is what I want them to engage with their peers with. And of course, after they do their discussion, they are required to reply to at least 2 of their peers or classmates. So for their initial post, which is worth 10 points, 15 points, I'm asking them to do at least 100 words. That's just a pretty good little paragraph, enough to kind of get something out there, maybe 3 or 4 sentences. And then they would get 5 points each for each reply they did for one of the peers. Okay. Now, finally, we've got the cognitive load piece, and this is the quiz. Okay, there's a quiz at the end of each module, with the exception of module 10, which we'll discuss later. Once I did the quiz, and it lays it out again, very intuitive. This is what you're going to get for what. So there are these questions. Let's take a look. I try to do a good mixture of both true and false, multiple choice, fill in the blanks and whatnot. And knowing how we are and knowing how baby boomers love the challenge, I put it out there purposely where they could only see one question at a time. So now what I'm going to do is just kind of click through. I'm not trying to score here. So we're going to answer question 1, which was a multiple choice. We're going to do the question 2, which is a true and false. We're going to do a kind of fill in the blank or continuation question here. We're just going to select something for question 3. Question 4, another multiple choice. Okay, we're going to click through there. Don't know what I'm answering, not reading. And a multiple choice again. Some of the other quizzes, after we get them in, that would be fill in the blanks. I'm trying to draw them in and get them used to taking these quizzes. So if you submit the quiz, okay, look, I only got 0 out of 25. But the good thing about it is I want them to go back and see what they got wrong. See, we'll show them what the correct answer was, okay? And so once they finish the quiz, then they're back to the next week. And it is 10 modules. Let's go ahead and take a look at the modules. It is 10 modules, expected to be 40 hours of instruction delivered over 10 weeks, with them spending, what is that, about 4 hours a week on them. So this is what's going on, and each one is the same. If you've seen one module, you've seen them all. It will start with an introduction. It would go into the journaling, which is the strategic and normative communication, and then, I'm sorry, the strategic and consultative, then the normative, and then the quiz. Okay, the only difference would be when you get to Module 10. Module 10, which is worth 75 points, note, Module 10 is a comprehensive reflection, and the purpose is to determine, did they get it? Okay, and of course, I have a rating scale here for me to go back and kind of determine, did they get it? And this is very important for evaluation purposes. And the schedule, as opposed to a quiz, they have an external survey that they would take, which is an in-the-course assessment of the learning. Okay, close out here with a little inspirational song. Wish I had time to play it. Okay, so this goes straight into a survey form for them to go in and rate the training. And I want to rate it across a number of areas so that this can be used to improve the course. Okay, so that is the Canvas course. That's how it looks. Let's take a look at some of the development designs and the design document and the job aid. Okay, first we will look at the design document. Okay, and it starts out with a little encouraging here just to kind of give a feel for it. Talks about the purpose and whatnot. And I will like to say overall I use a rapid instructional design approach, but a just-in-time delivery methodology because, and what I mean by that, is that I did use a template and, I got it together and, once I got a framework in, I basically just cut and pasted into placeholders, and then I went back and updated everything and made it module specific because I had a limited amount of time to get this done. So you look at, this is the design document, and I use a column format. There are my learning objectives and things of that nature. Now this is what's interesting. When I get to the modules, I wanted the modules to, if necessary, be a one-page handout for versatility. In case somebody just wanted to know about page or module number 3, this would allow them to only look at module number 3. So those are the 10 modules, each laid out specifically. And then we have the grading and assessment piece here. We're talking about both the learning assessment, the grading, and the evaluation. And then I can't get away from the Kirkpatrick Partners 4 levels of training evaluation. I'm a bronze certified, and look, I just can't get away from it. So the reaction evaluation, which we pre-training, which is module 1, as I said, it was just kind of a feel of what do you already know about wisdom? How are you wise? How are you going to respond to the way this course is designed and how it's delivered? So level 1 assessments are intended to kind of feel out and get to know the learner. Number 2 is what is going on while you're learning. Are you completing those assignments? Are you engaging? Are you passing the test? Now, level 3 is even a bigger assessment. Are you retaining the stuff? Do we have cognitive load here? Are you passing the quizzes? So those would be the level 3, and that's actually a quantitative measure. They are one of the few quantitative measures. What percentage of the class did you complete, the activities you complete, and what are you scoring? And then, of course, level 4 would be how many of them actually went out and completed the Survey Monkey survey. So that would give me an idea overall whether or not the course did any good. Now, let's look at the job aid for the instructor. Gave the instructor a quick table of contents for quick and easy reference there. Talked about purpose and intent and the guided learning theory. The guided learning theory is social constructivism. Okay, and talked a little bit about that, gave a little bit of the design approach, laid out those goals in more detail because I am wanting the instructor to understand which activities are supposed to accomplish what. So I gave the instructor a lot more details there. Okay, gave the instructor some objectives. Okay, this is what I expect from you. this, that, and then came back and gave the instructor the clear learner goals as written in the design document. Went in and talked about the key learning points and the expected results on the readings from the chapters of the book, the journaling, the discussion posts, the graded quizzes. Gave them an instructor work standard. Okay, this is what I expect from you. You are going to be assessed as well, and this is how I would be looking at how well you did. Did you keep them engaged? Things of that nature. And that would be, again, those are quantitative measures coming from the statistics that are maintained, what they call STILT assessments that are buried within the Canvas course. Gave the instructor a sequence of activities, what was expected during each one of the modules, and pretty consistent, of course, but a change in tone, and there are some other things to try to keep your eye on some participant and learner progression there. And then came back and let the instructor know what would be the materials they would need, how the overall course would be assessed, and then the individual learning, including not just the grading metrics for the learners, but the evaluation of the course again. And there's my Kirkpatrick. And a quick, deep, and dirty for them to take with them. This could be a pullout that they can always keep in front of them. Okay, well, that concludes it, and now that is the journey. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you agree with me that if we can get those baby boomers back to work in any shape, form, or fashion, our country would benefit as a whole. Thank you so much. I appreciate you joining me. Goodbye.